Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi my loves, it's Destin Choice and you're watching Choice TV. So today's video I wanted to get on here and talk about this viral video of this woman by the name of Angel who's going viral because she wanted to give her thoughts and piece about why people need to stay out of Brazil because of how dangerous it is.
Okay, you guys, we are in Rio, Brazil, and unfortunately I'm not enjoying myself as much as I thought I would because of the amount of scamming that happens in this country. Let me explain to you guys what's going on. So me and my friend, we're here trying to purchase something on the beach, which costs us about 180 Rios, which is about $40 USD. And when it was time to charge us, the guy, he would not allow us to see the screen when we were tapping to pay, right? Thought that was really odd. And then every time I was trying to see, he would like push me away. And his friend would be like, oh, don't worry, you're safe. We're not trying to scam you, blah, blah, blah. Which I think is weird because I never even said that. Okay, fine. My cards do not work for another reason. I'm telling him, it's your card reader, it's you, it's not me, because my stuff never declined. So he tries to make my friend pay for the stuff, and I'm like, why are you trying to make her pay when I already told you it's your reader? How come he taps my friend's phone, y'all, and look what he tapped her for. $3,712 US. When I just told y'all our bill is supposed to be $40 US. And when I tell you this has been a routine my entire stay, I'm on day like 5 here, and every single day has been some scam stuff. And it's like, how do I leave America to come and like decompress and relax? But I'm in Brazil and my mind hasn't been able to relax. I'm constantly checking my shoulder. I'm constantly having to calculate their every move because these people are so scam. And I'm not saying it's the entire Brazil. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying on a day-to-day basis, this is what I'm experiencing here. And it's not relaxing. I just don't see the hype about Brazil. No shade.
I've lived in Brazil for 2 months and I go there because I know people there. I've learned the language to some degree. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Brazil, more specifically the big cities in Brazil, are some of the most dangerous places I've ever been to in my entire life. It's one of those places where you go where you're always on your toes, or you have to be on your toes, because it looks glamorous and peaceful and beautiful and magical. Because in America and in other countries in Europe, or when you go to France, or when you go to some parts of Albania, anywhere where it looks magical, a lot of us automatically associate that with peace, tranquility. That's not the case. You walk around Brazil and you're not watching your back and you're not keeping your phone on you, yeah, someone's going to snatch you up and take your shit. And Brazil has a huge issue with petty crime. So let me tell y'all something. I done had people do some crazy shit to me, Brazil. Like, I done had to fucking I done got my phone snatched before. I done had people try to physically assault me while they're drunk out of their fucking mind. I done been in moments where like people have tried to scam me, where sometimes I've literally had my phone out and was like, "Cuánto é?" Like, where I try to speak the language, and because they can sense my accent or I'm not from there, they immediately be like, "Oh, it's this much." And the minute I try to look at the price, because sometimes they'll hide the little card reader thing where you want to tap your phone or tap your card, they hide it on purpose. Sometimes they flip it and they say, oh, just tap here, or they keep it close to them. And they do that because a lot of times in Brazil, a lot of things don't have barcodes. You have to sometimes manually type the price. So when you manually type the price, sometimes you think you're paying something small, something whatever, because Brazil is mad cheap. For people who are from a Western country, if you're not from a Western country, especially if you're from South America, Brazil is considered very expensive for a lot of people who live there. Sometimes you go to Brazil and you want to buy things like alcohol, and you could literally get a shot at the corner store. You can get a shot at a bar for sometimes 85 to 90 cents. Sometimes you go and get a cocktail. That cocktail will literally cost you $1.50. Usually a cocktail isn't supposed to cost no more than $3 in Brazil. But unfortunately, a lot of us who go there are like, oh, this is so cheap. And a lot of locals peep that. You find out you just spent $300, 400 euros on some shit that you didn't even realize was even costing that much. They literally charge you $300 for some trail mix, bitch. And that's literally how it goes in Brazil. But most of the danger happens in the big cities, such as Rio and Sao Paulo and a lot of other major cities in Brazil and more populated cities. But overall, Brazil is probably one of the most dangerous places I've ever gone to. And America is probably number 2 on that list. But it's not that Brazil is a terrible place. It's a really magical place. And if you ever get a chance to go, I definitely think y'all should, because Brazil is beautiful. It's awesome. People are very warm and friendly and polite and positive. And they're very curious about foreigners and welcoming. However, when you go to Brazil, there are instances and times where the minute you make it clear you're not from there, people notice immediately and they will try to find a way to make you an opportunity. But coming from someone that has once lived in Brazil, there's so many other cities in Brazil that a lot of people really should check out. Everybody goes to Rio because it's the place where you most likely will find some English speakers, and it's also an international tourist destination with one of the 7 wonders of the world. The thing about Rio is it has the biggest slum in all the fucking world, and it's also a dangerous city. The city was designed to accommodate the people living in poverty and also accommodate the wealthy. So you could literally be in a wealthy area, and then in 45 minutes, if literally sometimes even a 30-minute fucking drive, you're literally in the worst slum in the entire world. So that's how bad it is. But again, there's other cities in Brazil. It's just most people only want to go to Rio. Hell, even Brazilians don't even like going to Rio. But now thanks to TikTok, the whole world has their eye on Brazil. Thanks to things such as football, pop culture, Brazilian music, Brazilian dancing, and a lot of these videos that you guys see of people partying in Brazil living their best life. The whole world wants to taste of Brazil, and everybody all of a sudden has an infatuation about it. There's even this new trend where everybody's recreating the Pharrell and Snoop Dogg music video. On top of that, there's a new trend called Brazil Core. Brazil Core is when people just are stripped down, watered down, and completely dressed up in Brazilian attire. And what's interesting about Brazilian attire is if you wear shit like this, immediately people know you're a foreigner. And people know you're a foreigner because Brazilians don't dress like that. They know what they are, and they know where they are. They don't have to wear it on their chest. They either think you're a super conservative right-wing person, or they more than likely think you're a foreigner, which makes you an even bigger target. And then some of y'all got the nerve to walk up to people speaking English and don't even want to learn basic phrases like you're in the fucking Bahamas or Jamaica. Ooh, you are making yourself a big target. And that's not to shame anyone that goes traveling because they want to explore. That's just to make it very clear that most people in Brazil don't speak English. Most people in Brazil don't speak another language because the Brazil country is the size of a continent. Brazil is almost the same size as America. Let that sink in. They have their own version of things like CNN.
Pedro Venceslau já está de volta comigo. Pedro, os partidos estão se organizando para lançar.
And they even have their own version of things like horror movies. They have like their own music channel, their own sci-fi channel. They even have their own version of alcohol that's literally can only be found in Brazil. They literally have built everything around being sufficient and dependent on Portuguese. So most of them go their whole lives without ever having to put up or deal with English. So when you walk up to them speaking English and you think some of them are going to automatically think, oh, this person's probably rich and a millionaire, let me take advantage, you are a fool. And this is an ongoing thing that's been happening where a lot of foreigners have been going on social media talking about how they've been fucked over.
They try to scam me for $2,000. Look at this. I'm in Rio just trying to buy a t-shirt. Dude telling me it's $20. I go to tap my card, it doesn't go through, so I just leave. I get back home, check my phone. Why do I see a $2,000 charge decline? They added 2 extra zeros. Just a reminder, everybody, please check those card readers before you tap.
Okay, so we are in Brazil, and we just got scammed on the beach for $20. And my friend act like
it was 600 reals. It's more than $20.
We got scammed for $20, and she act like it's the end of the world. $20 is $20. Okay, they got us. They sold us drinks for $26 each.
Well, give me 600. You give me 600 reals then.
They sold us drinks for $26 each. We ain't know it was $26 until we got to the end.
So I'm going to read this for those y'all who can't read. Basically, she posted this TikTok. This young lady, to be exact, posted something saying, I hate to do this, but this guy and his friend tried to scam me. His name is Victor. She then says he tried to charge me 1,500 reais, which is basically about 200 euros instead of $2 for what I asked for. Then she says they were moving sus and wouldn't show me the screen. And then she follows it up with saying his friend accused me of being racist for being suspicious of him while throwing sand at my friend.
Victor, mi hermano Victor.
That sucks. It's my first beach day in Rio, and I get the mate tea. The guy doesn't speak any English, and I'm like, ¿Cuánto? Like, you know, how much? And so he doesn't even really show me the screen, and then I just tap my card, and it's $200 Brazilian reals, which is $40 in US dollars. So I get scammed for this drink, right? And I'm like, okay, it's liquid gold. I might as well enjoy it.
So I always tell people if they ever go to Brazil, stay near the beach because the beach is as safe as it's going to get. If you don't have basic street smarts or you're paranoid, Stay near the beach because you'll be fine, but even at that, you still got to be careful with the vendors. But this young lady got scammed out of $40 for one cocktail. It don't even cost that much for a cocktail in our own fucking country. And those are literally minimum. You shouldn't be paying no more than $2 for just one. I'm telling you that right now. If anything, max, even if you're in a luxury area, and it's never over $3.
Okay, you guys, so part 2 of my story time of my experience here in Rio, Brazil. We were at the beach. This little boy came up to us, right? He had his pair of sandals. Well, what's the matter with his sandals? And he's telling us, like to put it underneath our chair so we can like wash his sandals. And immediately I'm side-eyeing him. It's like, if you're from Brazil, why would you want to put your items with us when it's all these Brazilians around us? So we vibing, we chilling. 20 minutes later, the boy comes back. He looking through his stuff. Then he gonna say, my necklace. Hey, your necklace? The way I jumped up, I said, your necklace? I started going off on him. I was telling my friends, I knew this was a play because you don't know no other English, but you know how to say, my necklace. Who do you think you're fooling? We chased him away.
Guys, we literally got robbed in Brazil. Let me freaking tell you how. So we were walking, we just want to go to the other end of the road, right? We're crossing the street. Next thing you know, Kane looks to the side, I remember, and then this guy on the bike, he attempts to snatch Kane's necklace. I mean, he did. He ended up snatching Kane's necklace. Next thing you know, yeah, we get on the other side of the street. Little kids come around, so many of them, they're asking for money. We're speaking Portuguese. We're telling them, no, we don't have cash on us, bro. Next thing you know, this teenage girl, whatever, she comes around, snatches Eustace's necklace, walks away. I'm like, what the flip just happened?
So this is the reality of people who go to Brazil. They get a harsh reality. A lot of people, when you go to Brazil, they walk in with their phones, they walk out with their phones missing. They walk out with a bunch of stuff. Hell, I'm one of those people that got. Brazil's a place where you may think you're so tough, you may think you have a bunch of street smarts. No, you never know. Even the guy selling you peanuts may try to finesse you and rob you. You just never know. So in Brazil, you always got to have your guard up, and everybody is living in survival mode. It's still South America. It's still an easternized country. The minimum wage is still damn near $1.50 an hour. And it's like that in Brazil because a lot of Brazil, more specifically big cities like Rio, it's sandwiched in with the fucking hood. So when people designed the city of Brazil, they designed it in a way where they were trying to accommodate the people in poverty. So no one suspected or expected Brazil to be as magical and as big as it is. So Brazil is literally concentrated with a bunch of mountains. And what people don't realize is in a lot of these mountains, there's something called the favelas. The favelas are the hoods, the slums, the projects, the ghettos. And in those favelas, they're intersected and surrounded around the whole city. And interesting thing is some of these hoods aren't even bad. Some of them are actually okay.
A lot of people think, oh, Brazil is amazing. And yeah, it really is. But look at this. A lot of people with a lot of money, and in the side, we saw the favela. People with no basic things. But the both are watching this view. This is Brazil Core.
If you get caught slipping, walking some of these areas, in many cases, somebody will step to you, but they'll usually leave you alone if you're a foreigner. But in many cases, there are some crazy people that are on drugs, that are crazy, and will do some shit to you if they catch you slipping. And what's crazy is the reason why the hoods are so congested like this is because when they designed the city and when Brazil ended slavery, they threw all the descendants of slaves and all the people who were descendants of the indigenous people in these government low-income areas. And a lot of them went to the mountains and built communities. So this has been happening for generations and still happens to this day. Now they're trying to gentrify some of these favelas and make them tourist spots, but they're still the trenches. Going into a favela is like going into the projects. And I've been inside favelas. Some of them have events and parties, and sometimes it's a good time. But 50% of the times, it's not a good time. It's people's actual homes where they live, and many of them have nothing. So many of the people who live in those favelas, they have to literally walk down, take a taxi, or sometimes there's even cable cars that take you out of the hood and into the city. And in many cases, some of them go to the city for work, for school. Some of them have family that live in the city, and a lot of them are there to beg. Like there's a lot of beggars sometimes when you walk around Rio de Janeiro, and sometimes people can be kind of cold, especially like a lot of people from France or Europe, like they're not used to people walking up to them saying spare change, spare. Like, they're not used to that because in a lot of these European countries, they don't really have beggars on the streets like that. So sometimes people from Europe can be kind of cold or standoffish and rude, and sometimes they will humble you and try to they will try to give you a warm welcome to Brazil if you say the wrong thing. Brazil's a place where if there's no police around, you better believe that you're fair game. Brazil's a place where because it's sandwiched together and the hood is literally in the middle of the fun, in the middle of the wealthy areas, you never know who's seeing you as an opportunity. I've had moments where I've walked into a market. I remember when I went to Sao Paulo, which is like the New York City of Brazil, and I remember I walked in speaking English, which was really stupid of me because people try to play you. And basically this man literally was like, oh, look at this. We have exotic fruits. Come by, come by. I literally look at his shop. I look at all these exotic fruits and vegetables, and I pick out a couple fruits. He starts throwing a bunch of fruits in my basket like, oh, no, come on, come on. Here's gift, here's gift. You get this, come on, get more. Come on, come on, come on. And he's like, no, it's okay. This is gift. You just pay for this, and I give you this as gift. No problem. And I said, okay, cool. As I'm about to pay, he's like, okay, there you go. He literally takes out the card reader and he faces the screen towards him. And he literally pushes it closer to me so I could tap. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I want to see the price. I look at the price and I'm like, wait, hold on. Wait. He was trying to charge me, I think it was like 5,000 Brazilian. I did the math on my phone and was like, wait, hold on. I calculated it. It was $150. He tried to charge me $150 for like 15 pieces of fruit, and we're in South America. So immediately I said, wait, hold on, nah, this doesn't sound right. And he goes, all right, how much do you want to pay? Like, he went from being all smiley to, how much do you want to pay? Like, looking at me stank. And I was like, I'll pay about X amount, which was about $15 in their currency. And I took my fruit and I got the fuck out. But before I did, he took out a bunch of his gifts. He was like, nah, excuse me. He like took out a bunch of free stuff that he put in there. And I'm like, oh, hell fucking no. Like, this guy was talking about gifts and all I wanted was like 10 to 12, 15 pieces of fruit. So that's what happens in Brazil. The minute you make it clear that you have an accent, you ain't from there, everybody's trying to finesse you. On top of that, there's a movie called City of Gods. I recommend y'all watch that. It's a movie that talks about the racial divide, the cultural divide, and the financial divide in places like Rio de Janeiro, in Brazilian cities, where oftentimes people who are descendants of the slaves and the indigenous people were thrown to these horribly dangerous areas with no schools and no positive water system and no education or anything. And they've been congested in there for decades, and they have to watch from afar away locals and tourists have fun. Gringos is defined as Westerner, and basically to them it means a privileged Westerner, a privileged foreigner. When you're a privileged foreigner, you come from a rich country, they automatically try to find ways to finesse you. Not everybody, but people who work in tourist areas. And again, like I said, the favelas are congested around these good areas. A lot of these people that are working, these vendors, they live in the favelas. They live in the trenches. They live in low-income housing. A lot of them live in the hood. They have nothing. Some of them for a whole days of work only making like $25 for 10 hours of work. Some of them are making like $35 for a whole 12-hour shift, standing in the hot sun all day. And sometimes foreigners get taken advantage of. Sometimes there's people where people will walk up to you and say, hey, excuse me, can you wash my bag for me? You wash their bag, boom, they then came back and said, wait, did you just steal my fucking phone? And then they try to pressure you into giving them money. That happens in Brazil. And a lot of times you can usually be fine as long as you call the police, get the police, or you tell them to like leave you alone. Because most times nothing will happen to you if you're in congested tourist areas. But in many places, they try to manipulate and finesse you. But the goal is to blend in. I barely have these problems because, to be real with you, I have something called black privilege. Because I'm black, everybody already thinks and assumes that I'm poor and I live in the hood and don't have shit. Because Brazil has a tendency to assume that if you're a black person, you're either a foreigner, you're either a poor black person, or you're either a rapper or ball player or probably an engineer or something. There's no in between. There's rarely even a black middle class at all in Brazil. You're either super wealthy and wealthy because you're famous, or you're probably a black person that's probably foreign or comes from a wealthy family. Sadly, there's no in between for a lot of black folks there. I'm sorry if y'all thought otherwise. Brazil, although has a huge black population, and if not more black people than Atlanta and more black people than the Caribbean, there is still a lot of, setbacks and adversity that have prevented black people from prospering for decades. So the sad thing is, people don't automatically think that I'm a foreigner. If you're white, automatically you're a target. And if you go around speaking English, automatically. So yes, please go to Brazil. It's my favorite country ever. It's literally my #1 favorite place out of all the places I've ever been in my entire life. And even though I've had bad experiences, I still go every chance I get. A thing in Brazil that they say is when you get scammed or you get finessed or you get robbed in Brazil and somebody steals your phone, Brazilians oftentimes look at you like, oh, well, I mean, I'm sorry that happened. But most times Brazilians don't really care when foreigners get robbed because Brazilians, it's instilled in them to have their guard. Just like New Yorkers. Brazilians are similar to New Yorkers where they're instilled to immediately always protect their shit, hold on to their shit, and hide their shit. You walk down the street in Brazil, women got their purses just like this. You walk around Brazil, in many cases, people are looking at your shoes. That's a common thing. When people see you in Brazil, even if they have good intentions or bad, they look at your shoes. And that's a common thing they do because that automatically helps them assess your class, how much money you have. Like, are your shoes good quality? Are they good fabric? Are they knockoffs? Are they real? What brand are you wearing? And that's how people automatically judge you. So in Brazil, they also wear thong flip-flops, where sometimes you'll see people wearing wedge flip-flops because, again, in Brazil, it's a lot of walking. It's very sometimes wet sometimes. It can be humid, and people wear flip-flops. And in many cases, if you're not wearing flip-flops, people in Brazil immediately think, boom, you're a foreigner. You're automatically a foreigner, or they think you're probably going to the gym. If you're wearing your Nikes, your Adidas, or your Jordans in Brazil, and you're not wearing sandals, they immediately know, okay, this person probably has money because they don't care about their shoes getting messed up. So that's what I gotta say on that. People should like, comment, subscribe, and remember, keep safe and watch out when you go to these kind of countries and do your research. Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, that's that. Choice out this bitch.
Birds around, birds always hits around, birds houses things around. Have to put the thought that she's a lonely girl, and it's a lonely world, and she gon' let it burn, baby, burn, baby, burn, baby. This girl is on fire. This girl is on fire. She's walking on fire. This girl is on fire. Oh.